Hi everyone, welcome to episode 15? Episode 15 of season 2 of the Yarnivore podcast. I am Sadie, I am your host. And I am Blue Ruin on Ravelry, Sadie Ruin on Twitter and Instagram, and I think that's everywhere. I'm not on Pinterest. I may remedy that, I don't know. I was on Pinterest at one point when I worked in an office, because that's what you do when you're at work and you have time. But, having said that, I haven't had it in years, so I don't know, maybe I will. And just a little order of business. I've decided that I'm going to split the cross stitch and the knitting, separate it. So there will be 2 podcasts, so if you don't want to watch the cross stitch stuff, you don't have to, and it's not going to load up or anything. But if you want to see it, then you can go there. I figured it's getting a little ridiculous, and it's just better off that way. So that's what I'm doing. Those cross stitch ones will be tagged with floss tube, and they'll be recorded right after my regular ones, so they'll appear shortly after that on YouTube, etc., etc. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping to get us started. My makeup is kind of hacked up today. But it's the first time I've worn makeup in a while, so I guess you're just going to have to suck that up. I am wearing my Handspun Excuse Me, which has been washed and blocked and such. It is massive. I've shown this to you guys before, but it is huge. It could have its own zip code, I'm pretty sure. But I love it. It's very warm, it's very smishy. I used, they're out of business now, they come in 8-ounce bumps. It was the Wish You Were Here colorway. Crown Mountain Farm. Crown Mountain Farm is the pinkish color, and like I just said, it's Wish You Were Here, and then on the back, or front, depending on which side you feel like being, this is just random odds skeins that I had that were very, anything under a couple hundred yards I put in here, and then I just changed them. So it's got a stripey effect on the back. I consider that the back, depending on the day, I guess, right? Today it's the back, tomorrow it may be the front. It all depends, but it's huge and it's warm, and since this room is slightly chilly, I figured, yes, I need a hoodie or something, and I was like, my shawl, it's big. And there will be pets maneuvering around here. I have a bop next to me. Because otherwise there was no way I was going to be able to record. Because Bebop is Bebop. He's become sucky in his old... He was sucky to begin with, but now he's really sucky. And you can't fault him because he's so cute. It's like, I can't even argue with that. Nor am I going to try. So, let's get into everything. First off, I have a finished object. I know. How did I do that? I don't know how I did it either. These are, I believe the colorway is Purple People Eater by 3 Little Crows. It's a self-striping sock yarn. And then it came with 2 alternating heel-toe minis. So I did 1 heel-toe in one of the colors, 1 heel-toe in the other color. Usually I make my cuffs 7 inches, between 7 and 7.5. This is a 6-inch cuff because I really didn't know if I was going to have enough yarn. The yardage was a lot smaller in the main ball. I think it was like 386 or something, which is fine because, of course, you know, you're doing the heels and toes in alternating colors. But I was a bit worried. I probably could have done an extra repeat, but I am also neurotic when it comes to where my heels and toes go in terms of the color repeat, so it worked out best for me. Now I have leftovers. They can go in a sock yarn blanket or whatever. Which reminds me, I have to get some sock yarn wound off. I have a lot of spare sock yarn left over, so I am going to do up a bunch for Tracy of the Passionate Spinner podcast, because she's gone crazy into the little mitered square. See, my mitered square blanket, they're bigger because I can't deal with all those small ends. It's not happening. So, also on the needles, I have a thing here. There's a thing here which is actually for the cross stitch portion. So we aren't even going to get into that. Also, having been worked on this week, the Comet Socks by Stephanie van der Linden. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's a very easy pattern. It looks way more complex than it is. I am knitting them on, and the other ones were knit on US 1 2.25 millimeter needles with 64 stitches with an afterthought heel. The Comet I am also doing on US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. They are Chiago. I did do the cuff a little bit longer than usual. Oh, allergies. There was a lot of wind here, not last night, but the night before, like so much so that the power went out, which happens semi-frequently here, and as a result, everything got blown around, and I think there's mold going on. Usually I just worry about snow molds, but I actually think that the leaves, etc., like the general underbrush that's blowing around may contain some of that kind of mold, which I am really, it peaks off my allergies. I'm allergic to it. So I'm very nasal today. I apologize for sounding like Fran Drescher. But, so, get out of my way. There's the pattern. It's got one little cable and it's got this gorgeous little eyelet. And I know that it's probably too busy for the sock yarn, but I like it, so whatever. The pattern called for a short row heel and that was not going to happen. I don't like short row heels. I don't. Mostly because I cannot do them without getting that stupid little hole. And I know there are ways you can do it, but you know what? This is one of those situations where you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. I like the gusset. I am going to gusset until I die. Unless it's mandatory. Or it's an afterthought heel, which is just like knitting another toe, so it doesn't bug me. Like, I mean, had I afterthought healed it, and then maybe it would have been okay. But I'm not doing a short row. It's not happening. Although I haven't tried the Fish Lips Kiss heel, which I hear is, you know, the bee's knees. So I may have to do that. I did help someone learn the Fish Lips Kiss heel at Knit Night in Minnesota, but I still haven't done it myself. It's like, this is how the pattern says. Anywho, the gusset decreases are done. Probably a couple more inches, and then I will be at the toe. This is, of course, Soft Like Kittens in the prototype 150 something, also known as the bug yarn. And I actually came across, like, there was like, it almost looked like a crumb, like a little crumb or some crumbs, and I thought, hey, that might have been where the bug was. Not that I care, but I was just like, it's the bug yarn. And Annette is probably ghastly horrified right now, and seriously, it's not a big deal. It's going to wash right out. So I don't care. It was just really funny, because I was like, oh, look, Seriously, I'm easily amused these days. Just take it and run with it. So, I am looking forward to having these done. And by the way, that finished pair of socks means I've finished 3 pairs so far this year, and that's quite a feat for me. You know, now that I'm not in university. I was reminiscing with a friend of mine privately in one of those private messages on Instagram, because that's the only way she communicates now that she has children. She has 3, and they're very young. But we were always in the same classes, and we were in the same knit group in Regina, and we were reminiscing about how we used to get so much more knitting done in school. We got, you know, before she had 3 kids and before I left school, because I knit through all my classes. So I averaged like 2 pairs of socks a week. Easy. Because I'd be taking like 5-6 hours worth of classes, and I would like knit and write my notes and knit and write my notes and like talk in, in the seminars, intermingle, but now I don't have that, commute on the bus where you knit, or the sitting between classes and knitting, or going to class and knitting. Basically, I knit throughout the entirety of university when I wasn't eating or playing World of Warcraft. And that's probably a good thing, because World of Warcraft is not good for your grades. Just so you know, it's not very beneficial for your grades. Other work in progress is, that was in my Seashore Sharon stand-up thing. I don't want to call it a bag, because it's not really a bag. It's a bucket. It's my favorite bucket. It's the only bucket I have, but I love it. In my Frida Kahlo from Fat Squirrel, I have my Labyrinth socks. And actually, I brought the book. Look at me being a good podcaster. It's from Socks from the Toe Up by Wendy D. Johnson. It is, let's see here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a good picture. There. Ta-da! It's one of the sport weight socks. So it's knit on, I believe, a 2.5. See, now I can look it up and actually tell you, because I'm using needles that don't have them listed on them. 2.75. I'm using 2.75 millimeter needles. I'm knitting the medium, which is a 52 stitch repeat. I finished the first one. The end is woven in. There's the heel. As you may recall, I actually did the gusset and then I knit an entire inch because the heel was too soon, so I had to rip out the heel and knit an inch, and that fixed everything. So I have to remember to do that on this one. It's gonna create a little bit of an odd sock, but it fits really gorgeously. I did the nice little loosey-goosey bind-off that Jenny or Judy made. Judy and Jenny. There's a Judy on one of these and a Jenny on the other. Now, I was going to do knee highs, but I was at the point where I'd have to do calf increases, and I was like, wow, I still have quite a bit of yarn in this cake. I do. Look, it's a big cake. I can get a whole nother pair of socks out of these. And just do alternating heels and toes, and maybe alternating rib. I'm not sure. I will have to figure that out. But it's here. And this yarn was a gift from Jess, who is from my old knitting group, my only knitting group in the States. It's Cloud Lover, Handspun, and the Toil and Trouble 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon. So, Jess, if you want a pair of socks, I'll knit you a pair of socks. Or I'll make another pair for myself, really, it doesn't matter. And I started the toe. And these, of course, are my Remembering David Bowie socks because they're Labyrinth socks. And I started them the day I found out he passed, which I believe is the 11th. I think everybody found out on the 11th. So there's the toe. It's gorgeous. It's going to take me no time at all. Here's the other skein that I'm using. It's soft and squishy and wonderful. So these are actually still pretty high. They are, they're about 8 inches, maybe closer to 9 for the cuff, and that's pretty long for me. But they're so soft and smushy and lovely, and I want to. Can't rub them all over my face, that would be bad. They would get makeup on them, and then I would be a sad panda, and I'm not a panda. Not a panda. Those are my 2 active works in progress, and while you die of shock, I would like to point out that I finished those socks, okay? I didn't work on the hubby's hoodie because I was going to do that, Thursday night was my night to do it, and that's when I finished those socks. Because I was on a mission, because I knew 3 pairs in 1 month would be pretty awesome. And then I didn't knit on the hoodie. I need to knit on the hoodie. I need to get that friggin' chart done so I can just get, once I get the arms separated, I think it's just going to flow a lot nicer. See, I keep putting the lid back on because I have been trained from my cats to do that. Otherwise, you know someone's going to come along, knock it, and it's going to go spilling everywhere. So I will put my book, I'll put it down here. My show notes are up here. They really shouldn't be up there. You may have seen this. I did get it ready. I told you last time that my mother has a thing for Patons Kroy, and I'm glad to hear that other people have things for Patons Kroy. I'm not knocking Patons Kroy. I've knit many socks out of Patons Kroy. It was my go-to, again, in university. This is the Burnished Sierra Stripes. My mother picked this colorway. I have the needles. I got them ready. I'm going to be doing it on DPNs. These are Takumi 2.25 millimeter needles by Clover. So there you have it. Those are going to get started before you know it, and I'm going to do a pair of Mabel socks. Mabel socks, which is a pattern I have made. It's one of mine. And a side note, if you don't check the RAV group, sometimes I post stuff in the RAV group that I haven't talked about on the podcast, so you may want to join the group and check those out. But from now until I believe it's February 5th, again, check the RAV group for the actual date. I know it goes for another week, I believe. There is a coupon code where you can buy one and get one free for any of my pay for patterns, which has a shawl, a cowl, and 2 pairs of socks, and that's basically to boost your sock knitting if you want, but you can get them all for $5 actually if you use the code. Or you can buy one, get one free if you just want the socks or whatever. And it's 16 pairs in 2016, all smushed together, and that will get you the buy one, get one free code. But I'm going to be knitting my Mabel socks. Maybe you want to join. Someone has gas. And he's sitting right here. Oh, God. That's too intense. Okay. Spinning. And this is probably why I don't have that many projects I've worked on, is spinning. Because I spun and spun and spun and spun and plied. Like, just think about this for a sec. These are still moist too. They need to go back and hang to dry some more. I finished spinning everything. I plied everything. It's been washed and thwacked. It's still a little damp, but things take a little longer to dry out here in the Pacific Northwest when it's raining. Just saying. So, although my mother-in-law said I could try a hair dryer, but I was like, yeah, that's too much work. It's too much work. I have stuff I can finish. It's gorgeous. So here's one skein. Yes, that's right. I'm going to show you each individual skein as I take it from my bosom. Here's one skein. And I didn't twist them up very good when I grabbed them to show you because they're moist. They're moist. I wanted to remind myself I need to put them back up to look at that gorgeousness. Put them back up to dry. Here's a fuzz. So, yeah. This is 6 skeins. 6 skeins. This is 6 4-ounce bumps of Into the World. Spun and 2-plied. They came out as a cross between a sport and a DK, depending on how I knit them, I imagine. And it fluctuates in some spots, but you cannot tell that these are not all meant to be together. So I can definitely tell you that the Schnuffeltier, or the Passionate Spinner, her bonus episode on fiber matching for a sweater works. Clearly, it's worked for me. I want to do another one, but I'm gonna give my hand a break because I developed spinner's claw, from because I pinch. I'm an inchworm. I know how to do the long draw, but I'm gonna sit there. I'm a control freak, and I really don't care about, like, I just don't care. I want control. I'm gonna have my control, because if you're doing it for fun, unless you're a production spinner. But if you're doing it for fun, do it how you like. Now, I got 2,394 yards, which is a lot of yards. That's some serious yards. I'm pretty sure I don't need to tell you that's a pretty serious amount of yards, which means for my big girl size, I can actually knit a cardigan of substance. Like, I don't have to worry about whether or not it's got a hood or a collar detail, or whether the sleeves are going to be long or 3/4 or whatever. I don't have to worry about that, because I have enough to do pretty much whatever I want. And I decided, I was texting back and forth with my mother-in-law yesterday afternoon, and I was showing her what I was thinking of doing, and I had it narrowed down to, like, the Seabreeze, the Marco Polo, the Wellwater hoodie, or Jewel. And I love Seabreeze, but I also think that if I put it on my body, it's going to look like a giant sack, and the pockets are going to end up making my hips look like I've got some kind of RCMP pant on, you know, the jodhpur with the thigh flare. So, I don't know. I still kind of want to make it, but it's I don't think it's meant for people my size or people with my curves, personally. Not that I give a crap. If it's comfy, I'll wear it. So it's not a big deal, but it's a big enough deal because I want to be really proud of what I make out of this, because it's so special to me. So the Marco Polo got shortlisted, and then I was like, oh, I like the stripes in it. I don't like it in a solid color. I looked into all the people's pictures, and I was like, you know what? The ones I like the best are the ones with 2 colors. So I'm just going to leave that out of there. And I could hear my mother saying in my head, do not do horizontal stripes. Horizontal stripes are going to make you look wider. And of course, then there's me responding that I really don't care if I look wider. And a whole little fight ensues in my head. So Marco Polo got axed. The Wellwater hoodie, it stood a chance for a while, but eventually the Jewel Jack by Christina Korber Reith, it won. Boop. There we go. It's got a little shawl collar, it's got a button band, it's got big pockets. The details are all done with knit and purl, so it's not like it's not going to take away from the handspun, but it is going to add some detail. And also the stripes are going vertically, so my mother would also approve. It's just really pretty. It says here that the Jewel cardigan is a cozy cardigan with a shawl collar and long sleeves which can be worn open or buttoned. The cardigan is worked from top down in one piece with no seams. First, the body, collar, and front bands are completed in one piece. The shaped shawl collar is worked lengthwise simultaneously with the fronts, becoming the button and buttonhole bands. Front pockets are worked as you go, while increases at the hips create a slight A-line shaping. After finishing the body, stitches are picked up along the armholes for the sleeves. The sleeve cap is formed of short rows, then sleeves are worked top down seamlessly in the round. Which just sounds like fun to me. Doesn't it sound like fun to you? So I will probably be casting that on. It's a DK, 22 stitches on 4mm needles, so I'm going to have to play around with my gauge on this and see what gives me 22 stitches. I don't think it's going to be hard to figure out. And now it does say the cardigan is intended to be worn with 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters of positive ease at the chest. Actually, it's 4 centimeters, 1.5 inches. This person is clearly, what are you? Clearly not of American stock. You must be German. Die Deutsch Engeltung ist ausschließlich und exclusive by juleswollshop.de or Halflick, and that's just completely butchering it, but it does say So the pattern is only available in English, but I think you can get a German version. I think that's what it's saying, but it's exclusive at her website. Now, it says I need 2 inches or 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches of positive ease at my chest. I don't usually put too much positive ease at my chest. I will look at the schematic and see what I believe I need, but the double XL is 47.75. The XL is 45.75. It's going to be one of those. I have to remeasure my bust. I've gained a little weight since I quit smoking. Not enough that I'm, like, seriously, like, whoa, I'm in trouble. But enough that it's like, I might have bigger boobs. They're going to go back down, though, so maybe I should, like, bank on that. I don't know. What do you think? By the way, it's been 2 months now. That's right. I deserve a friggin' reward for that. So that's my big plan. That'll probably that will probably be cast on by the next time I see you. I could lie to you and say I'm not going to drop everything and start knitting it, but that would be a lie. I probably will drop everything and start knitting it. I'll probably throw in things to make myself feel better because it sounds like there's a contiguous shawl collar, which could be a little bit. So I may need some simple stuff, but then I've got the socks, and I'm kind of in a sock mood right now, possibly because I'm watching the January Sockathon that is on Expat Knits, the Expat Knitting Podcast, and she's nuts. She's got like serious skills. Maybe that's why I'm in socks, but I'm into, or maybe it's the 16 and 16 is really motivating me, or maybe it's the fact that I've seen how much sock yarn I have, and it's like, I must knit socks now, or that they're easy to knit. I don't know. I do know that when I have, I'm going to have to get another plain pair of socks to knit, because we've been doing a board game night on the weekends, me and the hubs, so I like to have a plain pair of socks to knit because I need to. I've said it before. I need to keep my hands busy or I start getting like really fidgety and anxiety cranks up on me. Blame it on the rain. 'Cause the rain don't stop. That's right. I just Milli Vanilli'd you. But truth be told, it's probably the rain that's causing like. Having said that, I will probably start another pair of socks. Stripy socks. I will have to choose which pair of stripy socks. That could be hard. Or maybe I'll just send hubby into that area and make him pick a pair. Or maybe I'll start his pair, although they're on US zeros, and it's just gonna, oh, my head hurts just thinking about it. It hurts. It does. So moving in. Now, there was, did I say there was a power outage? I told you there was a power outage. There was a power outage. And it sucked. They happen quite frequently out here because there's a lot of trees. And from what I understand, or what the neighbors have explained, is that because of the extra dry summer that was had here, the trees are like dying or dead, or like there's a lot more dead trees or like really dried out trees. So when the wind hits them, they snap, crack, and pop, and like there's a lot of tree falls, which means that there are a lot of downed power lines. We live at a junction, so, well, not like, we don't live, there's like a junction right there, but there are two different places our electricity and our power come from, one from that side, one from that side. So if one of those sides goes down, we inevitably lose power. So we tend to lose power quite frequently, and there's really nothing I can do about that. But Bebop does not like it. He will freak out. So he woke me up at like 3:30 in the morning, and it took until 7 for the power to be back on. You could hear all the generators going, because most of the people around here have generators. We do not, because we're like, we're not smart. That, and it's like, why buy a generator just because we're going to live here for a couple days, or for a couple years? it's a lot of money to sink into something we don't necessarily need. Anywho, so I couldn't go to sleep because I was like trying to, what's the word? I was trying to make Bop not freak out. Because he was having a bad freak out. Again, his Alzheimer's and his nervousness, it all amps up. So, because the power was out, I couldn't really read anything, and I couldn't really knit anything because I didn't have I didn't have anything easy to knit cast on. So it was either go get something and hand wind it with a dog panting and shaking in my lap, or try to figure out something else to do. And my iPod had power, and we have like power batteries, like portable batteries, like the Anchor, which I use for spinning, but that also translates into keeping my iPad going if I need to, or my phone. The cellular service also goes down because we connect through Wi-Fi throughout most of the house. There's one spot in the house where you can actually get signal. It's kind of weird and it kind of sucks, but I was like, wait, I have a book on my iPad. And not the one that I'm trying not to finish, the one by Caitlin Moran, which completely lost my interest. It's a book by Cooperative Press, and it is called River Gans Ease by Penelope Lister Hemingway. Stricken Touloup, Swabbing, and other Yorkshire knitting curiosities revived from the archives. I read for about 3 hours on this book, and it is awesome. It is very awesome. If you have any inclination to read about the history of certain knitted garments in the UK, basically, you should definitely pick it up. I really enjoy that kind of stuff, but I enjoy cultural stuff because I'm an anthropologist by degree, I guess. I don't know what you say for that, but it's very interesting to look at the histories. Like, I have histories of cultural knitting practices, and I enjoy reading them. So this is really entertaining. It's got lots of pictures. So if that stuff interests you, you should go to Cooperative Press and check it out. There's not much more I can tell you. It's a history. It's passed down. There's some of her life learning in there. Plus, she's tackling the idea, the original idea was that Gans Ease had initials or names knit into them to identify sailors who were thrown overboard or killed or drowned or whatever. And that's not necessarily the case. She does go into that, which is interesting to me because that's like the biggest pervasive legend revolving around Gans Ease. That, and my husband's a sailor, so I have to read up on that stuff because it, for some reason, it interests me now, whereas it may not have interested me before, although it would have because of the historical aspect, but the whole sailing aspect, and that's really interesting now because I'm married to my husband. And now into something else. I've seen it done on a few podcasts where they have a question and answer period, or there's a thread where you can ask questions. So I started one. If you have any questions you would like me to answer on the podcast, feel free to post them in the Q&A thread on the Yarnivorous Ravelry group, and I will respond to them a couple a week or whatever, or however many there are. If there's none, I won't say anything, and if there are some, I will. But since I put it up, there was one post, and that is a Wilda, who desperately needs to know more about me. I kid. She has a life. But she has some questions, and I'm going to answer them because that is what I do. And I figured it would be interesting for people to hear those questions because I've enjoyed listening to Karen do it. I enjoy the Knit Girls doing it. The Knitting Expat's done it. Like, a few people. So feel free to leave a comment on YouTube, and I will try and write all those down if that's where you are watching from, or go to the Ravelry group, the Yarnivorous boards, and the Q&A thread. So Awilda asked, does it ever freak you out that people are watching you? No. Doesn't bug me at all. Or do you just not think about that part? I think about that part in so much as I don't want you to see how messy my house is, so I record in my craft room. people are watching, they're going to watch. People aren't watching, they're not going to watch. I'm relatively indifferent to it. I've had to speak in front of very large groups, and I have no problems with it. It doesn't bug me that people are watching me. Have you ever been tempted to do a multi-host podcast? I have. Actually, in Minnesota, I had a guest host. That was Becca. She came over a few times and we recorded. In Regina, Alicia came over and recorded a couple times. Those are older podcasts, though. Like older ones. And it's not so much that I'm tempted. It's a lot of organization to get two people together. Furthermore, I'd have to know someone in my vicinity who wants to be on a podcast and who is down for all the organization and timing it takes. Because you can't just call them up and be like, yo, come over and we'll do a pod. Well, I did with Alicia, but with Becca it took a little more finessing in that we had to plan a day, and like we didn't have to plan a day, but we had to plan a good couple days to a week in advance if we were going to record together. So would I do one? Yeah. But it's a lot of work. And right now, I don't really know anyone who would want to, like, truck out to the boonies and be on podcast. So if you have more questions, feel free to throw them in there, because I will answer them. I will answer them as they come in. I need somewhere to put my iPad. I don't know. How about here? No? How about here? Here. That works. The other two things I wanted to talk about were just a couple of podcasts I've been checking out lately. There is I'm going to say her Instagram name is Cardigan. Her name is Caroline. She's Dutch. She's the Colorful Creativity podcast, which can be found on YouTube. She also dyes yarn, which is very beautiful. And I love watching her cats. She's really good at English. I'm not sure if it's her first language or not, but she's really good at it. And the kitties. And she knits such cute things and colorful things, and it's just fun to watch. I recommend checking that out. Also, the North One Knitter, I forget. She's gray mostly on Instagram, and there's 2 or 3 episodes of her podcast up now. She's from London. She has great taste. Great taste. The Star Wars jumper is epic. It's awesome. And everything she says kind of reminds me of stuff I know. So it's really fun to watch. She's also a vegan, if that entertains you, if you like vegans. Vegans tend to clump together. Or vegetarians. Occasionally you get 1 or 2 off by themselves. But highly enjoyable. She spins, she knits, she's awesome. There's Moomin talk. There's talk of sci-fi books, which I love. I'm still reading the same book because apparently, well, I started the River Gansey book and I read quite a bit of that. I couldn't read the other book because the lighting from we bought a camping lamp that has a giant battery in it. It's not really conducive to reading a book. So there you have it. But you should check those 2 podcasts out. They're fun. I've been enjoying them. I'm still hopping around on podcasts and trying to check everything out. That's basically what I've been up to. That summarizes our knitting podcast. I hope your socks are going well. I hope whatever you're knitting is going well. I hope your January has been fun. I hope your February coming up is going to be even more fun. Happy birthday, belated birthday to Tracy from the Passionate Spinner podcast. And I'll check you guys next week.